If Skip Bayless had picked up a copy of Stop Simpin' for $14.99, he wouldn't be in the multi-million-dollar lawsuit he's in right now. Coming to paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA from the Black Boule in this action-packed all-new John Haynes series adventure. Pre-order your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side at Amazon.com and other online booksellers. Better get the coleslaw, y'all, cause we're having us a barbecue. A former hairstylist at Fox Sports is making an allegation that former Undisputed host Skip Bayless made sexual advances towards her in a sexual harassment lawsuit. Now, in this lawsuit that names Skip Bayless and an executive, Charlie Dixon, and another host, Joy Taylor, as defendants, this hairstylist, whose name is Noshin Faraji, claims that Skip Bayless was making sexual advances towards her from 2016 to 2024 and even made a proposal to offer her $1.5 million to sleep with him. Offering a chick at work $1.5 million so you can get some draws? Sad. Just sad. Now, according to reports, Noshin Faraji says that this indecent proposal made by Skip Bayless to offer her $1.5 million to sleep with him was a part of a series of events of sexual harassment that included Charlie Dixon, the vice president of content at Fox Sports, groping her at a party as he sexually pursued other female employees. And she says that when she confided in a co-worker in Fox Sports 1 host Joy Taylor regarding the groping incident that took place in 2017, that Joy Taylor began mocking her accent in 2021, and also says that Joy Taylor was alleged to have been in a sexual relationship with Charlie Dixon in order to get a position on Undisputed, and says that this created a hostile environment as related to sexual harassment in the workplace, which eventually led to the termination of Noshin Faraji in 2024. Now, when I take a critical look at this whole situation, it definitely looks to me like Skip Bayless and Charlie Dixon definitely are looking a lot like workplace simps, like I talk about in my book Stop Simpin' in the Workplace, based on these allegations that Noshin Faraji is making. And as I listen to the allegations that Noshin Faraji is making, I really see them as somewhat quite suspect as related to this lawsuit, because the allegations that she's making, she says that this whole situation started in 2016. Now, if you understand the history and timeline of America, 2016 was about the time that the Me Too movement was going on, and during the time of the Me Too movement, a lot of white women and non-black women were out here making a lot of allegations against white men, and this was the indirect result of the entire campaign to go out here and slander Bill Cosby, backfiring on many of the white supremacists at places like Fox News when they tried to again destroy the legacy of Bill Cosby. Unfortunately, what happened was when Roger Ailes offered Gretchen Carlson $20 million in a cash settlement, this triggered the hypergamy in most of the white women who worked at places like Fox News, and led to those women filing sexual harassment lawsuits in an effort to get a larger payday. And this created an entire scandal that basically overwhelmed white men who thought that they were going to destroy the legacies of black men with the Me Too movement, but it wound up blowing up in their face. And I'm wondering why Noshin Faraji did not file a lawsuit back around 2016, where she says that he made this unwanted sexual advance to offer her $1.5 million to sleep with him, because that one claim basically would have been a big headline for most of the mainstream media. And I'm sitting here wondering why this woman was silent during that time, because this would have made huge headlines and basically led to the end of Skip Bayless as related to things when he was again out here as the host of Skip and Shannon and Undisputed. This basically could have blown the lid off of everything as related to the Me Too movement. So I'm wondering why Notion Faraji didn't make that claim back then as related to the alleged sexual harassment she claims that Skip Bayless participated in. That's where I have a bit of a red flag as related to this allegation that's being made as related to this sexual harassment, because this whole thing, again, we were in the middle of the Me Too movement, if you look at the context of history, where a simple allegation could have destroyed the life and reputation of a man, and she could have easily, again, made that claim back then, and it could have done more devastating damage than the entire situation between Shannon Sharpe and Skip Bayless, where Skip Bayless basically went out here and attacked Shannon Sharpe and basically showed a lot, not only showed the racism that goes on behind the scenes at Fox News that led to Shannon Sharpe's departure, but would have also shown the hostile environment as related to the context of sexual harassment. Now, what's going on here based on the allegation that Notion Faraji is making about Skip Bayless shows me that when it came to Fox News or Fox Sports, definitely we have a case as related to these allegations, if they are true, that Skip Bayless definitely is a textbook case of a workplace simp, like I talk about in my book, Stop Simping in the Workplace, who did not understand the boundaries that a man is supposed to have as related to the job and his social interactions with women. No, with Skip Bayless, because he basically, I believe, is a racist and a white supremacist, thought that he was above the unwritten social rules, and because he thought he was above the unwritten social rules, because he was a white man, he thought he could go out here and make these kinds of advances on this woman Notion Faraji, even at the height of the Me Too movement, and that just basically shows how arrogant this guy was, shows how completely arrogant he was as related to these claims, if they are true, to continue making these advances, even though you see dozens of white men basically having allegations made against them, in this time where men are losing their professional reputation, their personal reputations, and in some cases being put on a road to losing their freedom. This man had a special brand of arrogance to the level of stupidity to make, if these claims are true, advances on this woman. But this is the type of mindset that some workplace simps have, because they believe that this is not going to happen to them, because they believe that they can go out here and make these advances because they basically are on a higher economic bracket, and they feel that it won't really hurt them at the end of the line. And in the case of Skip Bayless, I believe he thought because he was a white male, he thought nobody was going to do any damage to him. But the whole thing is that it makes him look optically bad. I mean, it makes a dude optically look bad if he's out here making unwanted advances on a woman. That really just makes you look bad in and of yourself, because a man, when he's out here, has to understand that he needs to, again, protect his job. That's the first thing a man needs to understand in this world, is you protect your job, because this is how you make your living. Moreover, you protect your job because this is how you make your money. But when you have FU money like Skip Bayless, who made $32 million a year on his contract, this is where this guy starts to get, again, full of himself and doesn't think about his way to make a living, because he's going to go out here and thinks because he makes so much money, he can violate these boundaries by crapping where he eats. And sadly, this is where Skip Bayless started making a mess as related to his professional career. And as he made that mess as related to his professional career, this is where he wound up making him himself look really bad by one, going out here and making that advance allegedly on Notion Faraji, again a hairdresser at Fox Sports. Then, if this allegation is true, offering this woman $1.5 million to sleep with him. This really makes this dude look extremely pathetic. It makes Skip Bayless look extremely pathetic to go out here and make that type of proposal, because he's not only going out here and making this woman into a prostitute with this proposal, he's also making himself look like a complete simp all around. Not only a workplace simp, but an old simp at that. And this old simp, again, going out here making a proposal like this is pathetic, because if you're spending $1.5 million on somebody at the workplace making that proposal, I mean, that shows that you're not a man who has his stuff together, because making a proposal to spend $1.5 million on trying to get some hairdresser's draws, I mean, this guy just, again, you would think this is a guy who could go into any bar or restaurant and just walk up to a woman and talk to her, and he would be able to, again, get that woman to go out here and go to a hotel and drop the skid mark jockey draws and get a taste of the atomic waste for free. But no, this guy, again, shows how lame he is to go out here and make a proposal to a woman at work, which is something a man never does, and to offer up so much money to the point where he just, again, doesn't look, he's thinking he's looking cool, but he doesn't know how pathetic he looks, offering $1.5 million in order to, again, get some draws from a woman at work. And making this proposal was just, again, creating a whole paper trail of evidence, a paper trail of evidence that can easily be documented in a lawsuit that could lead to this woman going from making not that $1.5 million, but making just as much as Gretchen Carlson. And that's possibly what Notion Faraji is thinking right now. She's possibly thinking that now that she's got as related to this proposal for $1.5 million, she's got evidence to, again, get herself a payday of $20 million, because now that she can go out here and file a lawsuit for sexual harassment, she now has the evidence that if she does have it documented as related to Skip Bayless's behavior and the behavior of Charlie Dixon, she has the documentation of not only an unwanted and unwarranted advance as related to sexual harassment law, but she also, with the whole situation with Joy Taylor being a side piece to Charlie Dixon, have the documentation to prove a case as related to a hostile environment. Now, this is why you have to be careful when you're on the job, and this is why smart men do not get involved with women on the job. They don't get involved with women at the job, because if you get involved with women at the job, again, you're crapping where you eat, and you're making a mess of everything that could lead to you winding up in a federal lawsuit as related to sexual harassment, and that federal lawsuit of sexual harassment basically creating a judgment for a woman where she's going to get a huge payday at the expense of your company you're working at. Moreover, she can also file a civil lawsuit against that same man as related to that sexual harassment and get another payday at his expense. And that's where the FU money that Skip Bayless thought that he had, he basically screws himself out of it because he was so hopped up on his power as a white man that he didn't understand that he was putting himself in a bad situation as related to his old fiscal situation, all in an effort to try to flex and show his power because he was feeling inadequate about himself in the presence of black men like Shannon Sharpe. And I believe that that possibly was one of the motivations for him to participate in this alleged sexual harassment, if that's the case, because I believe that Skip Bayless was really, again, a racist who was jealous of Shannon Sharpe, jealous of his presence, jealous of his success, and in order to overcompensate, look to show his power, because when it comes to beta males, they want to go out here and try to conquer a woman sexually. And basically, this is where I believe Skip Bayless went down the road of feeling, again, inadequate and insecure, to the point where he started going after this woman at work. And it's really sad because, again, here's a guy who's making millions of dollars and could basically go into any bar or club and basically have women all over him because of his position in the media and all the money that he has. But instead of going out here and being a man and making that type of advance on a woman outside of his job, what this simp wanted to do was look to show his power as a man. And as he looked to show his power as a man, thinking he could violate the boundaries of the workplace, he basically put himself on a road where he wound up in a case of sexual harassment, and a case of sexual harassment because he violated the unwritten social rules as related to the workplace ever since the days of Clarence Thomas and the Clarence Thomas hearings. Now, in the aftermath of the Clarence Thomas hearings of 1992, men knew that they had to move differently in the workplace after Anita Hill made her allegations of sexual harassment against Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court justice at the time, who was being nominated. Most men understood they needed to make a boundary at work as related to, again, keeping professional distance with women, and that boundary became more reinforced as the Me Too movement was going on, and women were basically making allegations against men, making allegations of not only sexual harassment, but also sex crimes. And this is why many men started putting distance between themselves and women. But when it comes to guys like Skip Bayless, these workplace simps, they don't understand that those boundaries are, again, meant to protect men. And some of these guys think that because they make a lot of money, that they don't need to, again, honor those boundaries. But sadly, when they don't honor those boundaries, what happens is that they wind up having to deal with the consequences. And part of dealing with the consequences is you wind up getting jammed up when it comes to a sexual harassment lawsuit, because, again, when it comes to these type of lawsuits, they can be filed even though you wind up leaving that job like Skip Bayless did, and you can still be held liable for those charges as related to your work. And again, this is why a smart man, again, he makes a boundary between himself and the women at his job. He makes a boundary between himself and the women at his job and minimizes his contact with women. Now, if I were in the same position at Fox Sports, I would have been saying, hey, get me a male hairstylist, get me a male around me, because I don't want these women around me. Now, that may appear to be sexist, but the whole thing is that I don't want to be in a place of impropriety. I want to maintain my professional distance, and maintaining your professional distance to some women may be seen as something aloof. It may make you seem like you're unapproachable, but a man has to do this because he has to protect his way to make a living. He has to protect his way to make money, because you really don't want to go out here and create a hostile work environment like was created as alleged to Fox Sports and Fox News. You don't want to create those type of work environments, because what you can do is wind up making a situation where a woman is going to get a payday at your expense from a judgment in a lawsuit. And that judgment is something that this woman basically saw when this guy made this advance. She said, well, why would I want to get $1.5 million from this pathetic simp when I can get $20 million or more from the whole Fox organization if I take this case to court? And oftentimes what happens in these cases is these women get a settlement because the company just, again, doesn't want this out here and doesn't want to deal with the liability of a large judgment. But the way you avoid this situation is you basically get yourself up on game. And the way you get yourself up on game as related to the workplace is you go out here and you pick up a book like Stop Simping in the Workplace, which tells you how to identify workplace predators and workplace situations that you don't want to be in. One of the reasons why I wrote this book is because I don't want to see guys get jammed up on the job, because when it comes to the job, again, if you don't watch yourself, when you're out here with women, you can put yourself in a bad situation that can again lead to you winding up losing not only your personal reputation, your professional reputation, your ability to find another job someplace else, or be able to, even some cases, lose your freedom. And this is something men really have to think about when we're in the workplace. But what's really sad here about Skip Bayless is that, again, this is a case of a workplace simp who, again, thought he was so arrogant enough to be above the law that he thought it wouldn't be able to hurt him. That's why he possibly made this indecent proposal that basically showed how pathetic he is. And it is pathetic to, again, offer a person at work $1.5 million when there are 4 women for every 1 man. And all you have to do is walk down the street and just go and women will come up to you if you're making that kind of money. I mean, that just basically shows me that this was more about power than anything. Shows me it was more about power than anything. But sadly, as he looked to again flex his power as related to his insecurities about Shannon Sharpe, he basically showed how weak a dude he is, because only a weak, pathetic dude is going to make advances on a hairdresser at the job and offer her millions of dollars for some draws. I mean, that's really sad, because again, if a man wants to get sex, he can go out here and again find any woman who will offer him sex. If he wanted a relationship, he could find any woman outside of his job and keep his money. But this was all about power, and it was all about power and control from a guy who again felt inadequate as a man in the presence of black men, and now is going to have his wallet be possibly 10 pounds lighter than the $1.5 million he was offering. And he could have avoided all this if he had just spent $14.99 on Stop Simpin' and Stop Simpin' in the Workplace. Had he spent $30 on those 2 books, Skip Bayless could have saved millions of dollars and saved his professional and personal reputation. He could have basically wound up in a much richer place had he just spent $30 on 2 books. But he possibly wouldn't have wanted the information because it came from a black man, and because he came from a black man, he didn't want to hear it. Then that's possibly why Skip Bayless is, again, going from being undisputed to being unemployed, and is now the undisputed king of simps at this point. He's the undisputed king of simps at this point, because any guy who's offering up millions of dollars, like the Gage character in Indecent Proposal, basically is the undisputed simp, because there's no reason to go out here and offer up money for draws. No, there's no reason to do that at all. And the guys who do this are a special brand of pathetic. And I have to say, this basically makes Skip Bayless look like the undisputed simp. The undisputed simp who basically is looking like a complete joke at this point, and basically looking at a joke at this point, because if you've got to offer up that type of money in order to get women, then you're really sad, because again, hookers you can get them as low as $20, and if you're offering $1 million for someone, again, that really shows how sad this dude is. Sad that he went out here and made this proposal, a proposal that basically shows that Skip Bayless is an undisputed joke that everyone is laughing at, and basically shows me that the whole environment of Fox Sports is a place that you really don't want to be in, because it's looking more and more like a toxic workplace all around. Now, if you want to learn how to identify workplace predators and avoid workplace situations that can get you jammed up, you can pick up my book, Stop Simpin', Stop Simpin' in the Workplace, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find Stop Simpin' in the Workplace at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, and other online booksellers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to learn how to identify female predators and be able to avoid them, you can pick up my book, Stop Simpin', Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. And you can also find Stop Simpin', Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Get yourself a copy of Stop Simpin' in paperback. $14.99 could possibly save you millions of dollars or your life. Now available for the first time in paperback. Stop Simpin' in the Workplace. Men, learn what you need to know in order to protect your job from workplace predators with Stop Simpin' in the Workplace. Available in paperback at online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.